Bruh. Hello, gamers. Oh. And welcome to Monday's stream. Yeah, Friday's stream was really chill, so we're gonna start a little bit on that vibe, not immediately go into working on stuff. Hope everyone has had a good weekend. I was mostly resting. I don't want to do a repeat of the previous weekend, so I took it a little bit slow. Mostly done some house chores and stuff like that. Oh. I also know that this week I'll probably have a spotty schedule because on Wednesday I will not be streaming. I have previous engagement at the in the evening, right at the tail end of my usual streaming time, which means that I would have to either stream a lot earlier, like a couple of hours earlier, but it's gonna be iffy. On Friday I will probably be able to stream, though. I just need to double check a couple of other things. So I'll be streaming today and then skipping Wednesday pretty much certainly, and then stream back on Friday. Hi, Andre. In this case, it's not Earl Grey. I do have Earl Grey, but it's just Pidgey Tips, which is black tea with some oat milk. And I also have some Jaffa cakes because I wanted to eat something instead of just drinking tea. Oh. So yeah, mostly chilling a little bit. Yeah, because since on Wednesday I will not be streaming, I decided to do some work that I usually do on stream before doing the streaming. So we'll go over it and then we'll do some more work there on the tagged entry on libadwaita. But I ended up doing a fair chunk of work while off stream. Yeah, that's pretty much my current status. Today I also received a delivery of a Blu-ray I pre-ordered, the final movie of the Bates Stay Night trilogy. So I know what I'm watching this weekend. Strictly speaking, I already watched it. It's by means that I am not able to disclose in a public stream. But yeah, I already watched it. But I ordered the limited edition with the booklet on artwork and interviews on the staff and stuff like that. So really cool. Oh. My hands are hurting a little bit. I don't know if it's audible, but yeah. Scrunching my fingers. If I don't do that, I know it sounds terrible, but if I don't do that, my hands start hurting, so. Okay. Hi, Rednov. Right. So, yeah, let's go over what I've done before the stream began. Okay, so there we are. Where is it? Libadwaita, here. So we left the tagged entry on Friday after talking about the design. Basically, I wanted to go over a potential implementation of tag auto-completion and things like that, using the new API inside GTK4 for list models and list views and a bunch of ancillary data structures there. And thankfully, we have an example of that inside GTK itself. Inside GTK demo, there's a suggestion entry widget that basically does a lot of this stuff. So I was able to crib a bunch of implementation details that are quite interesting, but I also wanted to adapt that particular implementation using to something that is more in line with a libadwaita and a tagged entry widget. Let me see if I can get you an example. Right. So if I run the build here and I don't nuke my stream while I'm doing it, what's happening here? What the hell is this? Typo there. Yeah, basically there's a demo in GTK4 that has an attempt at a completion entry. Basically an entry that watches what you're typing, and if it knows if it has some model there with a list of possible completion terms, it will pop up a popover with that list. Let me see. Okay, should start right now. So yeah, it's inside the lists here, and we have or selections probably. Yeah. So yeah, you press G and all the possible completion happen here. Okay. Yeah, this is a completion on the file system, and here a bunch of other completion models like software mockups and stuff, which is absolutely fine. this is again a demo widget. It wasn't. I think Matthias proposed it for inclusion inside the API for GTK4, but I was a little bit on the late side of things, and also there was no design and there was no set of features or no set of functionality that we agreed on. So it ended up being a demo widget, which is great because then we can take it and we can look at it and learn some stuff. The way it works, again, I went over this on Friday, kind of, but the way it works is interesting. So the entire thing is predicated on having a model, right? A list model. So an object that contains a list of other objects. And in order to use that, it takes the list model that the application developer passes to it and then wraps it into a map list model. A map list model is nothing more than a list model that calls a function for every element inside the original list model in order to turn each item inside the original list model into another type of item. It's a map. It's, if you've ever seen a map reduce, like whatever, or the map function, the map method in other languages and stuff like that, it's exactly that. Iterate over a source, a list in this case, and then turn every single element in that list into another element. Simple map. On top of that, it does some filtering. So it creates a list model that applies a filter to each element, which means that at the end of the day, the filter list model is going to be at most equal to the original model, or is going to have no element whatsoever. So those are the two extremes there. Then it creates a sort list model on top of the filter model, which means take the results of the filtering and sort them, in this case using a numeric sorter, but you can have different sorting objects. And after that, in order to make it work with GTK list view, we create a single selection model, which is a model that keeps track of a single item. So you can select one item inside the original model. And that's pretty much it. The way it works is every time, let me go to the function there. Right. Every time the text changes, we take the text, we run it through the map model, and we verify that the text matches the desired text inside the model. And if there are more than one match, then we pop up the popover and we display that. Otherwise, we don't do anything. This is fine for a suggestion entry. So something that does completion. You start typing and you see a list of potential completion, and then you select one of those elements, and what's inside the list model, what's inside the popover gets transported into the editable bit of the entry, which is great. What we are trying to do is kind of the opposite. We are trying to watch the text that we are entering, show a list of possible completion elements, and when we select one, we want to remove the text from the entry and put it inside a tag object that is another widget inside the entry, inside the widget near the entry. So what I have done this was today when I worked on this a little bit. Well, first of all, I've done a fairly useful thing to refactor the entire tagged entry widget. So instead of having everything built in code, I decided to move all the widgets into a template. So inside a UI description file. The reason why I've done this now is because before the entire popup completion thing, the tagged entry only had two widgets. The flow box, which contains the tags, and the text. If you have just two widgets, the template would have been 24 lines of XML. It's actually more lines than C code to do this. So I decided let's not use the UI definition file just at the beginning. But now I want to add a popover to the tagged entry, and adding a popover in GTK4 requires creating a child, GTK popover child for that widget. And the popover will contain a scroll window, and the scroll window will contain a list view widget as well. So the end result is that we have a lot more stuff to describe in our widget, at which point using a template is a lot easier to deal with, especially when we want to tweak the properties and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, if you want to change the minimum children per line, or if you want to change the size of the text, or any other thing, then it's definitely easier to do this in the XML, or the styling even. But yeah, that saves us a lot of stuff, a lot of time with this stuff. And that was one of the first things that I've done today. But the other thing is, well, filling up the overall model matching. So that has to be done in code. We'll see after this, for the demo, how to not do this in code for your particular use cases, but for the actual implementation, we have to do this in code. There's a lot of pointer stuff there. So we do exactly what the suggestion entry did, except that I commented it a little bit more. So whenever you set a model here, we create a map list model to map the contents of the given model to the object that we want to deal with. The reason why we turn the list model that you're passing to a map list model is because we want internally to be dealing with a single type of object. We don't want to be dealing with all possible types of objects, because then we'd have to create an interface and add restrictions on what kind of list models you pass. And that is not great. That is definitely not great. We only want to create a basic wrapper around your own data structure that contains the text for the label, essentially, of the tag, and pretty much it. That's it. Want to have something that we can extract the text from and compare it. And we don't have to go through a bunch of hoops or define specific interfaces so that we don't have to deal with the maplet model. So just to cut it short, we do this because we want to augment your data with something that interests us internally in terms of what we're going to iterate over and filter over. So we create the map model, we create the filter. In this case, another custom filter function, and then we create the sorting object. The sort object is non-numeric. We don't have scores. Otherwise, we'd have to make a bunch of stuff public, and I don't want to do that. So we just use a very, very simple alphabetic sorting mechanism that ignores the case as well. This one could be an additional property on the tagged entry, but for the time being, it's kind of useless. We just assume that everyone wants case insensitive searching. Then we use the sort model, and then we create a single selection that does exactly the same thing as the suggestion entry does, and then we set it as part of a list view. And then we add a very simple notification callback whenever the selected element of the list of the selection model changes, so we can update the contents of the UI. Yeah, we also need to ensure that we can deal with the fact that the user can unset the match model. So we need to clear up everything. Because as I was saying, the other, what was that, on Wednesday, I think, the tagged entry has 3 modes of operation. One is the external mode of operation that basically allows you to add and remove tags from external controls. Then you have the internal mode of operation that automatically turns what you're typing into tags regardless of what you've typed. And then we have the final automatic completion model that basically lets you add tags if they match a completion, a list of possible completions. And yeah. Okay, so let's see the map function. As I was saying, map function is a callback that goes through every item inside the original model and turns it into another object. Yeah, we're gonna have to add the expression, so put a pin inside the expression bit right now, but let's assume you're passing a very simple string list. A GTK string list is a list model implementation provided by GTK itself that contains strings. It's very bare bones. Good point, Andre. How does it work? How does auto-completion work for extended Latin characters and not? We are going to see it in just 1 second. Here. So the first thing we do is get the string out of the string list, and then we create a match object, which is the thing that is going to be part of our internal model, which is essentially a wrapper around the original item and the string value of that item. We basically ask the item to serialize itself. And then we create a match, we call a match function. Either we call a default match function or we call a user-provided match function. The match function gets the, this one should not be this, it should be, yeah, this one was a test. It's going to be exactly the same, but we'll see in a second why it's different there. The match function will create the tag that we are going to add to the match object, and the match object will take ownership of the tag. So what does the match function do? Well, the default one will do normalization and case folding for both the string that serializes the object and the text that is part of our entry. And then does a very simple prefix matching. But since we normalize and case fold both of them, both the text and the serialization of the match, then we know that these two strings must be identical. So this is how you do very simple, well, this is how you do string matching with UTF-8. Remember, all strings in GTK are considered to be UTF-8, so you can always normalize and case fold. So this is the function. It creates a tag. The tag gets assigned to the match. Why we're doing this? We only do this if the default match function returns a tag. If it doesn't return a tag because there is no match, then the match does not contain a tag object. And we use that particular knowledge, that particular information, inside our filter function. So we only show inside the list view the matches that have a tag associated with them, which means that have an actual pairing between the two. So let's see if I can get it demo. So it's basically understandable there. So we're going to tagged entries. I updated a little bit the demo here. This one with the 3 modes of operation. The manual tags, so that's the usual thing. But now if I type, it doesn't complete anything. The other thing that I've done is the automatic tags instead. So if I do this, it will add the tag, and then there's the tab completion. Tab completion will work like this. So it kind of already works a little bit. There are a couple of things there. One is the selection, and the other one is the keyboard input. I want to be able to use keyboard input without having to navigate inside the popover. But yeah. Yeah. So it's done, right? Ship it. Of course not, it's not done. But yeah. So the way it's defined inside our demo page using UI definition files. Let's go here. I use a match model here, and then I use a string list. And the string list can be serialized directly inside the XML. So all you need to do essentially is this. Pass a string list and you pass the items inside the string list. These are all the allowed tags. And yeah, this is how the API will look like, basically. So again, you have 3 options. One is you have a manual tag entry where you add and remove the tags yourself. You have an automatic tagged entry. Wherever you enter gets turned into a tag. And then you have a completion tagged entry where you define the possible tags up front, and the tagged entry will complete them for you. Oh. So yeah, I think this is pretty much the overview. And again, I've done this like a couple of hours ago, so it's still a little bit flimsy in a couple of places. So we'll have to figure out a couple of make it a little bit more resilient for changes and stuff like that. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to add now was the expression handling. So adding a simple string list model is the trivialist possible option. You're just adding a bunch of strings. In practice, though, you'll probably have more complex data structures that you're going to shove into the match model. Like, for instance, contact, or I don't know, some additional, like an event maybe, or something like that, or a class of event, or calendars, or whatever. That's how you it's up to you how you use the tagged entry, but pretty much that's the expected thing. So one of the things that you do is, in many cases, these objects have a string representation by themselves. For instance, a contact might have an email address, or will have a name that you want to complete on. So instead of using a match function that requires you to unpack the object you're passing and then compare it manually, you can decide, I want to bind that particular information, that particular data that I know the object serializes to this to the matching function of this of the tagged entry. In order to do that, you use expressions in GTK4. So here, an expression. GTK expression is kind of a GObject bind property, but on steroid and crack. It's a way to create binding that work across instances. So if you have an object that has and that contains another object, and that object contains the property that you're interested in, then if you wanted to use a GObject bind property, you would have to bind the property, extract the object, and then bind another property, which is a very complicated set of things and requires a bunch of signal emission handling and stuff like that. So instead of doing that, you use GTK expression. GTK expression does all of this for you. Let's say you have inside your list model, you have an object that contains another object that contains the name property. So let's say, yeah, you have an object that has like the contact object, and the contact object contains another object that is the I don't know, like, yeah, the work, let's just say the work metadata object, and the work metadata object has another property that contains the work email address. So you want to bind the work email address of the outer object to the tag model, This way, when we complete, we will look at that work email address instead of looking at a direct child. This allows you to avoid having objects that have a ton of properties, instead of having objects that contain other objects that contain the properties you're interested in. So, okay. So we want to set the match expression, which is the expression that will be evaluated here. We call GTK expression evaluate, and the expression evaluation will go through the rules that GTK expression has, and will fill out the value of the expression at the end. Just like GObjectGetProperty will fill out the value here. So in order to do that, we have to do here if match expression is the same, we just return. So here pointer okay, then we do match expression equal expression. Object self, and then entry. Oops. I need to check one thing here. Yeah, it does update map. So once we've done that, we need to do w entry update map. So we replace the expression here with the new one, and then we update the map. Update map is the equivalent of calling map again. So it will regenerate all the elements inside the map model using the original map, using the original model. Right. Yeah, it's the same thing we do here. We create the map list model and we apply the map function. Then we create the custom filter, and then we remap the model so that we can take the map objects and set the tag if they have one. And the same thing happens here. We are replacing the expression, which means we have to remap the contents of the map model. Bam. And that's it. We already have the getter function here. We have a match function here. The match function is, again, something that turns the an item inside the original list model into a tag. if it matches the text. So the only reason why you would implement your own default match function, want to implement your match function, is in case you have a complex object inside your list model that does not deal well with expressions. But also if you want to control the creation of the tags themselves. So by default, we create a tag with a label and the show close button enabled. But you might want to show an icon, for instance. Let's say you're writing a tagged entry for email client, and you want to use this to replace handwritten emails with contact avatars. So those contacts will have a little avatar for themselves, which means that you want to create the tag object yourself because you want to set an icon for them. In that case, you will need a default match function, a different match function. So the match function is responsible for creating the tag object that you are going to use. Let me remove this because you still need an expression. Right. So essentially, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to use this to control the matching. For instance, you don't want a simple prefix match. You want substring match. And the other thing you want to do is you want to create a tag with your own, with, for instance, without a close button, or with an icon. Use function control the matching between the entries text and the data inside your model, as well as the creation of the tag object. Yeah, if you don't set anything, so if you unset it using null, then the tagged entry will use its own default implementation, which does prefix matching and creates a tag with a label only, and with a label and a show close button. Okay. Right. So for now, we don't really need expression ourselves because, again, we automatically handle the string object, a string list model ourselves. So this is a very simple check here. If you are not passing an expression and if you're not passing a string list, then we emit a warning saying you have to do either of those things. Otherwise, we get no value. We have no idea what the contents of the model are. I mean, we could add a marker here, like unknown value, and then the match function will do whatever it wants without the critical warning. Theoretically, it's entirely possible. Personally, I kind of prefer the idea of you're going to pass an object that you know how to extract a string from, since we are matching on strings. We need to clear here. So how does this how does this mesh with the auto-completion, well, the automatic handling of tags? It's a little bit janky, to be honest with you. I would probably prefer it if it weren't so weird though. But basically what it does is, for auto-completion, we use a notification on the text changes. So every time the text changes, we add an idle, we wait for the main loop to re-enter, and we run it here. Then we get the text as it is, we run the map again, we get the list of matches, and if the list of matches is more than one, well, bigger than 0, greater than 0, then we show the popover there. Which is fine. But we also are looking at the text, at the insert text and delete text to build up the buffer for our automatic tag replacement. And what we do here is we only do this if the match model is null. So if you didn't set match model here and the limiters are still set, then we do the automatic handling like we did before. Otherwise, we don't do anything. So it's it's not competing between the two, because the insert text and delete text will fill up the buffer and then it will replace that, and it's perfectly fine. But yeah, we need a couple of bailout functions to deal with this. We could even move this outside. So if the delimiters are null, or there is a match model, then we bail out immediately. We don't really care about that. And the same thing here. The limiters are null, or so match model is not null. Is it right to put the G schema some predefined items for in the G schema some predefined items for auto completion? I have no idea. I mean, there is no schema here. Okay, if you decide to make it configurable somewhere in your application, then you can set inside a schema as an array of strings. Then you take those strings out of the G settings, and then you build your own G string list, and then you pass it to the tagged entry. What I've done is if you have a list, a hard-coded list of tags inside your UI definition file. This is mostly for a demo. I don't think there is any I've never seen any case where a tagged entry has a hard-coded list of tags inside the UI definition. But it's possible to do it, and it's easier to do it this way if you have a demo. For any other application, you will probably have a list of tags stored somewhere, like gsettings or some file that you load up at startup, or somewhere else that the user can fill them out, like any other kind of storage. At that point, you just load those, put them inside a GTK string list, for instance, or any other glist model implementation, and then you hook that list model into the tagged entry. If that answers your questions. I mean, as far as I understood, that is what you were asking, right? Okie dokes. Yeah, this one works. So yeah, we deal with the insert text and delete text handlers only if the match model isn't set. Okay, that sounds working to me. Right. Whoa, what the hell was that? Weird. Yeah, some weird. Okay, so let's look at the key navigation. The key navigation is going to be interesting. Key navigation is going to be interesting because it does a lot of stuff outside of what you normally expect from a GTK application. Where is row activated? Oh yeah, here. Set single click activate and row activated. Okay. Right. So one of the things that the suggestion entry does is it creates a bunch of key controllers. So a key controller and a focus controller. Because it will handle key events and focus tracking by itself. So it's going to be fun that way. Okay. So list view is okay, let's go with event controllers right now. So another reason here, it's pretty good because now we can deal with the event controllers. I have I have an example of that already in the tag widget UI. Here it is. So if you want to add an event controller inside your UI definition file, you can use a child block here, because GTK widget will do the type check for you. So tagged entry UI, well, we can copy this here. We're gonna change the name anyway. Okay, so tagged entry UI. Okay. I'm gonna put them at the bottom so we don't accidentally end up dealing with crap. So this is the pen controller key. Property name, and we can call it tag entry key. Let's call it widget tag entry, and then entry key pressed. Okay. This is a very, very simple event controller. So we can go back inside our code here. We don't need to deal with anything else except GDK widget class time template callback widget class entry if I didn't forget stuff. Okay, we want it on key press, so I'll wait attack entry key press. Let's copy it so I don't have to forget about it. Okay, and we need to create the handle there. Let's go up, up, up here. Let's not code it in the blind. Then control key pressed. So we get this static gboolean adw entry key press. The first one is going to be the tag entry because I used a swap callback, which means that this one goes at the very bottom in place of the controller. Here we are. Right. Yeah, so I use that swapped signal connection, which means that the instance goes at the bottom and the user data goes at the top. And since we want to have the self here, we put it at the top. So let's see what suggestion entry does. Suggestion entry does a lot. So this is not your typical event handler, but it's something that you can do with GTK. So let's go through every single part and we can explain what it does. First of all, if there is if one of the states is latched, so Shift, Alt, and Control are set, either of any of these are set, then we just bail out. We don't care about any of that. Okay, then we check here if it's return Sadly, we have a ton of potential key codes for the return key on your keyboard. You have the return, you have the keypad return, and you have ISO enter. In case your your keyboard is an ISO layout and it's encoded that way. Yeah, this is kind of messy, but yeah. So if you press return, then we unpop up the pop-up. So we hide it. We accept the current selection of the list model, and then we run it through again, and we handle it. So if you press return, we handle it automatically. The other thing that we do is escape if we want to cancel the auto-completion. So if the pop-up is visible, if the popover is visible, we set it to not being visible. We replace the search term, and we change the cursor position. So we don't complete. The way it's done here is that whenever you change, here, you go right or left, we change the cursor position here. If you do tab, it will try to autocomplete. And then if there are matches and there are like elements selected, then we select. So if the popover is visible, then we are going to use the key navigation on the text entry to move the selection on the popover. So we don't transfer the focus from the entry widget to the popover. And we do page up and page down using a hard-coded page step and so on and so forth. This is kind of funny. Yeah. And yeah, this one is, yeah, okay. We'll need to change a couple of things there. So in our case, where is it? The not here. Where are you? Okay, so we don't want this. This one has to go away. So one of the things that I added a little bit too eagerly here was that if you go through the popover, we automatically, well, the suggestion entry works this way. If you have the popover open and you have a bunch of possible completions, moving through them will add the word that you're completing into the text entry. This is because it's a suggestion entry. It's a auto-completion kind of thing. We don't want that. We are trying to do the opposite. We are trying to take what you're entering, seeing if it has a tag, and if it matches the tag, then we add it to the tags and remove it from the entry itself. So that particular bit is not something that we want at all here. Yeah, it's not notify selected here. We'll have okay, we'll call it something else. Selected entry, apply selection. Right. So we call this function called apply selection. We get the selected item from the selection model. If there is no match, then we return immediately. Otherwise, we add the tag internally and we pop down the popover. And we remove the text from the entry. So we're going to call it later on. But yeah, we need to call this when we activate the row. So what we really want to is go back to the UI file, and inside the list view definition, we want to have signal name row activate. Is row activate or row activated? Let me list view activate. Yep, it's activate. Then we do handler adw on list row activate. We pass the tagged entry, and no, we don't swap it. Okay, so on list row activate, we need to add it to the bound callback. On list row activate. And then we are going to go up here. Okay. Static void. Let's go back here. On list row activate, list view position, enter data. There. So this is going to be we already have that inside the suggestion here. We accept the current selection and we pop down. Okay, so we pop down. And then we have to add. So adw add entry. It would be a lot easier if I didn't forget the function names that I just written. Apply selection. We'll probably need to copy it above that. At the very top. There we go. So let's see if it builds. No, of course it doesn't. What happened there? Oh yeah, add tag internal. I call it a lot earlier than that. So yeah, we'll have to move this too. On text notify. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so we'll have to do a little bit of surgery there. On text notify. Same. Okay. Yep, and I need to return this while we haven't filled it in. Okay. So let's try again. So here. Yeah, now I need to explicitly select it. Okay. Okay, this is a lot better now. So now we need to do the key navigation, so we can do completion. Well, we can do completion without having to move our pointer from the entry into the popover. Then we're also gonna add stuff for accessibility because that is important, but we'll do that afterwards. Okay, so key navigation. Again, we are going to use, where are you? Okay. Here. So we're going to do something similar to what the suggestion entry does. So first of all, we are going to ignore everything that has a modifier attached to it because we don't care about those. Then we are going to handle the case where the user press return. This is not going to be called that. It's going to be w set popover visible. There we go. And then bw apply selection. This one frees a bunch of stuff, updates the map. We don't care about this stuff here. Let me think. Yeah, no. We're gonna do that internally anyway, so that's fine. Oh, hi, Georges. How are you? Okay. So let's try and see what happens here. Okay, so this one doesn't work, but it's okay. Oh, good. Good to hear that you slept fine. That's good. Honestly, I've changed my mattress. What was that? Last week, because my old mattress was losing integrity. Basically, it wasn't even an old mattress. I bought it when I bought a new bed when I moved into this house, which was less than 7 years ago. And the mattress I had was terrible. After a couple of years, just started sagging and lost the shape. And after a while, your back starts to give out. So my partner and I bought a new mattress. This one is memory foam, like blah blah blah, but it's very rigid, and now my back is actually very happy about it. I sleep a lot better. It took me a couple of days to get used to it, because going from a mattress that basically just lets you sink into the bed to a mattress that opposes a lot of resistance to that to that action, it takes a little bit to adapt. But after that, it really gotten a lot better. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, Rednoff. Between work and dollars, I can guess that it's kind of a thing. My brother has 2 kids, and yeah, I've been told. Oh yeah, cutting caffeine after 2 p.m. Yeah, I'm not cutting caffeine, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, no, after a while. So, okay, I can drink an espresso after dinner, and it will not impact my ability to sleep in any way, shape, or form. But I'm also Italian. But it's also single espresso, not like an entire mug of coffee. But yeah, I understand that completely. Yeah, I usually... So today I drank coffee after lunch, like a proper AeroPress coffee. And now I'm drinking a mug of tea. But usually after 4 is tea only. I don't do coffee after 4, unless it's an espresso and I had dinner. Like if I go out to a restaurant and have a substantial dinner, then an espresso usually helps me out. Working through the dinner. Otherwise, no, I don't do caffeine. I don't do coffee after 4. Okay. So we'll fill that up after that. Let's go back here. So right, we're gonna handle this. Okay. Then we'll need the little utility function here for determining if a key is a key movement. and then if key is okay. So yeah, we are going to do this logic here. Same thing. I'm gonna probably need to simplify a couple of things there, but should be fine. Again, this code is for a completion entry, so it's going to be slightly different. Also, let's define here page step. Okay. And then undef it here. Yeah, defining symbol and then undefining it when it's not needed anymore is usually a good idea when you're dealing with the mess that is the C preprocessor. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if anybody has seen it, but or if anybody here follows him. One of the authors of SDL is doing a series on writing a very small media player, like music player, that mimics Winamp using SDL, and he does videos on YouTube, and it's a very interesting series on writing C code on a library that is very low level. You typically see SDL as a library that it's used for writing games or stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see instead SDL being used to write a media player. But the interesting bit is that basically he loads the Winamp skin format and then maps it into an SDL application. It's so fun. Lost among the e-files. Yeah, it's I hate this stuff. Keyval is cursor move. Keyval is cursor move. Yeah, no, I was watching what was that? A couple of like episodes ago, and it was a massive refactoring. Took him an hour to refactor a bunch of code. Essentially, SDL being a game-oriented library, it doesn't have an explicit main loop. It forces you to write the main loop, also because it's immediate mode rendering. It's not retained at all. So it forces you to enter something, draw your stuff, set up your state, handle events, and then draw your stuff. Stuff that GTK, generally speaking, does for you. But it's really fun to see how an old application like winamp was written, because it kind of maps to what old GTK, old Windows application would do back in the day. Okay. So okay, why are you not? Let's break out the oh, come on. I mean, I'm pretty sure people here remember winamp. Okay. I mean, seriously. It's... Please say you remember winamp. I don't want to be the oldest person here. Oh god. No. No. It's really ridiculous. Oh, okay. Early childhood. Okay. God. Okay. Yes, pension saving seems to be a thing for me. Yes, I have pension saving account. Now that you mention it. Oh, man. Okay. Why are you not selecting stuff? Let's see if I can get... needs to be selected there. Yeah, it's pretty tragic that I'm seriously the only person that remembers that. that I used it properly. I mean, I remember a time when winamp was not a thing. I remember a time before winamp. God. I'm seriously old. Okay. Okay, this is correct. Okay. Oh, don't tell me it's down inside a suggestion style. Okay. Yes. Yuck. So, this will require some styling there. I mean, let me double check. Yeah, it's dealing this manually. Oh, yuck. It's using outline color and background color, and that will require some styling there. Okay, for the time being, we are gonna ignore this particular bit. Otherwise, we'll have to modify, something like that. Let's move this here, and then we can go inside the style sheet here, widgets, entries, and we have tagged here. So this is going to look like this. Tagged, pop over, list view, row selected. Outline color. We're going to need, let's use this. Do other thing have an outline color? Oh, it's the focus color? No. What are we going to do here? Outline color. Let's see if the documentation from libadwaita has some style information there. Name colors. What are you here? We can use accent background color, probably. Yeah. Let's use accent background color. Where are you? And then with color. Then we want to have the text color. Color, we are going to use current. What are we going to use here? UFG color. And the background color is going to be let's use again accent BG color. I'm pretty sure the designers will come to my house and in order to beat me up to death. There you go. Okay, and then we need to have deactivated. Yeah, because suddenly I broke everything. Because I need the... Okay. But yeah, let's drop this stuff before I get hurt. SCSS is SAS? Yes, it's SAS. It's SAS with a bunch of stuff that is encoded via GTK CSS. But yeah, it's SAS. Something that I should never touch. I should not be allowed to touch. I should not be allowed within a 5 miles radius from, because I am terrible at this stuff. Okay, so whenever we press return, where are you now? Okay, whenever we press return, we want to apply the selection here. And apply the selection means getting the match, the selected item, and then adding the tag. Let's see if I forgot somewhere. Okay. Okay, there is no selection there. It doesn't enter here. Doesn't activate the here. Okay, let's see. Oh, I know what this is. I know what this is. No. Why? So it's getting key press, but it's not getting... I know. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. I'm adding this stuff. I'm adding the event controller to the outer entry, not the inner one. So I need to add it here. In order to replicate that, otherwise the key pressed is not gonna, and this is not gonna be, no, this is fine. Okay, let's try again and see what happens. There it is. Okay, now it's working correctly. Right. So, yeah, I need to do that dance here. Right. So this is going to be the resell search. Search equals editable text. And then dw entry update map. Yeah. Yeah. I need to string it up. But... Oh god. Okay. Entries. There's no match there. Why is there no match there? It's probably because it's not selected. Why is not being selected? Okay. Selection changed here. Selection changed is calls accept current selection again. Accept current selection. It blocks set the text. I need to create the tag, and yeah, but if I cannot create the tag if the apply selection doesn't. Okay. Yeah, right now it's not. Okay, so. Right, because as soon as it appears here, so if I do this, And now it's working, yes. Because it doesn't immediately work. Now it's selected. Because by default it's not selected. So if I do this, there's no match there. I need to explicitly select it. Moving down and then return. But if there is one element, then what I want to do because I'm activating the row here. Right. Right, I know what I have to do. Basically, if I have a single element, then pressing return will automatically select that. So let's go. We can take this and move it earlier. Here. So if matches equals 1, then instead of apply selection here, well, we can do a list item. No, GTK list selection. I have it here. Single selection set selected. Single selection set selected. Selection here. And then get rid of this. And then call edit. Why is the right? If there is a single value, then we don't need to select it. It's there. We press return, and it's gone. So that one should work. So if we do bar return, yeah, one. Yeah, this one doesn't select anything. It just closes. Like we do foo, press return, we have that one. Perfect. Like it's a return, but it's also tab probably. You could think of it as tab, but return is fine. So we add a shortcut here. Okay, so we remove a bunch of print pairs here. We can also keep the right. If you press return and there is no match, then we don't even close the popover. So sorry, if you press return while nothing completes, then we keep the popover open. But if there's only one match and then we do that, yeah. So basically we use return to complete a single element. And we also that we have entry set visible of those and return true here. Otherwise, we return false. Let's see what happens. But if we have a single completion possible, we don't even need to get into the popover. Otherwise, we have to do like this and press down and then there. And then here we go inside the selection stuff. We can remove gprinter here. Let's try and see. And we can also remove it. But yeah, okay. Oh, new commits for Boatswain. Nice, nice. Yeah, I haven't been using it right now because I need to change a couple of things. But I tried it, what was that, yesterday, locally, and it's really cool. I could move stuff around, change scene and things like that, and it was really nice. So, Georges, you've done a great job. I also looked back at the launcher action. Basically, I've tested it locally with my inside builder, which means it only has access to the launchers that are available inside the builder sandbox. If you run it outside, then it will only have access to every other applications there. I need to modify it so that if you're running sandboxed, it must have access to the applications outside of the sandbox. There are some tricks there in order to deal with that. But yeah, basically right now it works unsandboxed. If you're not running it sandboxed, then it has access to the entirety of your system, so it runs for all applications. I'll make sure to make it work with a sandboxed environment as well. But yeah, I cannot. Yeah, the app launching portal. Yes, you need to have a portal that gives you the list. Well, pops up the application selection dialog, and then yeah, it will look at all the applications that are available, and then you'll be able to launch them outside of that. But yeah, it requires some thought there. You want to run it outside of a sandbox to get the list of desktop launchers, and then you want to have access to basically negotiate with the system to launch another application. I'm pretty sure we're gonna need that anyway, because application launchers exist. Yeah, that is the main thing that is annoying. But yeah, adding the rules directly to upstream to the hardware database is going to be very much useful. But yeah, let's see. Here we are fine. Key navigation is fine. We also want to have the focus stuff. Okay. Oh, nice. Oh yeah, that's a lot of progress for like what? A month of work? That's a lot of progress. I'm so happy. Three weeks, Jesus. Yeah, when stuff moves, it really moves, right? focus here. And ABW focus. And then the focus here. Are you? And focus. Leave. Oh, by Renoff, that datasheet embedded C and autotools. Oh my god. Yeah, I remember that. I'm so sorry. But yeah, have fun. And thank you for joining us. Okay. Right. So leave. Yeah, whenever we leave EW entry focus remove. Whenever we leave the focus of our tagged entry, then we want to pop down the popover. Okay, here we need to have another callback. Okay, we need a focus leave. We're gonna put it near the other like void ADW entry focus leave ADW entry, and then okay, and controller focus. So if the widget no. So if the popover is not mapped, then we return immediately. If the focus left the text, or right, so we do AW and improve that. Popover visible. No. Let's see what happens. So let's move. Yeah. No, probably we don't want that. Yeah, we probably don't want that focus stuff. No. So we're leaving the focus of the entry, but we are telling it not to leave the focus there. We grab the focus without selecting. But if we move, we are leaving the text entry. Yeah, no, we don't want that. We want the we want to do this whenever we leave the outer entry, I think. For the time being, we don't need this. Let's ignore this and not do stuff that we don't understand. So tab entry C. Right, let's remove this stuff here. And then here as well. We also want to hide this if we don't match anything. Or maybe add an no match. Let's see. We already should be popping over this. Let's see. Okay, this one should move. So here, there are no matches here. Should set the popup to being invisible. Let's see. Let's add a little bit of debugging code there to see if we are doing something stupid. Okay, and entries here. So we have one match here. We have still one match. Now we should have 0 matches. Okay. So this one should unset the visibility of the popover. Visible. And then here. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, this one is probably. There is no. Why is it doing that? Let me see if there is something stupid going on there. Yeah, no, this is something. This is dumb. Hmm. I bet it's this one. Yep. So in theory, we could have no matching tags or whatever. But it gets complicated with list view. List view, yeah, no matching tag. I could have an automatic. No, I cannot add an automatic tag that does that. But yeah. Oh, and escape should also close this. Okay. So yeah, I know what it is. We can drop this, and we can drop this. Okay. And then for escape here, if keylog equals gk key escape, adw tag entry that pop-up are visible self return. Yep. Okay, so we kind of handle everything here, and here we go. Yep. So we also need to change here, not enter a comma. Enter text here. I'm gonna add a few more. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, makes sense then. Yeah, the label here should probably extend a little bit so that the end of the label is the end of the beginning of the rounded corner here. But again, style is going to be done by somebody else, not by me. I am terrible at styling. We are going to need to add here entry set expression equal value get expression. And same here, g-value set expression, fine, okay. We're gonna have to free a bunch of stuff here. The buffer is free here. Pop over tags, the widget for tags. We have other stuff lying dormant. Yeah. So inside our dispose set much function here, and then abw entry set match model set match expression. Oh, hi, Satrak. Thanks for the following. Yeah, basically now we have to deal with this stuff, which is cleaning up the match function, the match model, and the match expression. I'm not gonna call gclear object because the API does a bunch of other bookkeeping when it comes to the objects there. So we really want to deal with this stuff manually using the provided API. But yeah, that seems to be working fine. So now we have a tagged entry. And the tagged entry works exactly like, well, as all three modes of operation that we outlined earlier in the stream. I think this is really much how I envision it for the time being. So before we actually get some feedback from the design team and so on and so forth. Let's see. So, okay, we need to rebase that. We need, we add a name property to the widget tag. Okay, we need to do a couple of changes there. So, I have some stuff that is still in flight and I forgot to push it beforehand. So let's go into Git surgery mode. So we are gonna add tag here. Okay, we are gonna turn the name property on the tag object into a constructor only property. Make Then we are going to do this. Turn name into use name is census name. Census students. This way it's possible to style widget using the then we are going to commit the UI changes. Ensure that labels don't draw unbounded. Ellipse size after 12. Then, okay, this is a massive set of changes, but okay, so now we commit the style sheet changes. No, we add them and then we fix up. Here we go. Okay, so now okay. Okay. Type entry UI. We are going to add everything to the same commit that adds the the tagged entry, because we don't want to have yeah. Here we are going to have to do some Git surgery anyway. Okay, that's the demo here. So let's try and rebase on top of everything. Okay, this is going to be fun. Yes. So tagged entry. Let's see. Okay, here. Here. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Okay, this seems to be fine. Okay. Git add VW tagged entry C. Close it, then tagged entry H. Here. And here. And the G resources HTML, sorry, not HTML, XML. This and this. Okay, we can close these two. Ah, yes, I know. Alongside the text. Five images and as can be added. Yeah, 3 possible mechanism. One explicit external UI like buttons, automatic by looking at the contents of the image from a list of possible in this model. I should not be using this. It's buggy, and I like it because it allows me to look at the commit message here, but it's, yeah, commit is buggy. I'm sorry about that, but it is really. From this thing, results are similar UI or PD tag entry. Let's use by Nautilus. If for those. As token field. Let's use get and UI kit. And then input chips as used by Android. we have to merge everything anyway. Away. And then we have to line. Ah, good. Yeah. I should fix up everything. And just merge everything inside a single blob without having to care about the go away. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we should really merge everything inside a single commit without having to care about all this stuff. Okay. Oh, let's see. Sorry, let's see one thing. I'm going to use bin. Must be here. Yeah. Let's remove this. Okay. Tag object, tag widget, tag entry to the M application. There's a template for tag widget. This one here. Okay, keep that. Okay, automatic tag insertion. Okay. And this one too. Let's see, properly documented. This one gets merged there. And then we style it. We fix up this one. And this one, we move it here to the tag widget. Need to fix the commit message here. Yeah, this is so annoying, but I don't like having a messy commit history. Okay. Commit command. Add a name property. Okay. Yeah, we also need to here edit the commit message that commit fucked up for us. Okay. We have a name property, we use it for the CSS class, we turn tag widget tag into a construct only property, okay. Keep the tag widget tag in sync with the model, tag the entry to the application, style the tag related widgets, and add the tag entry. Okay. Okay. This one is going to be the big commit. That adds a ton of stuff there. Ooh, 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 ouch, ouch, ouch. Ah, fuck. Yeah, here as well. So we need to so we are going to have to, where are you? Tagged entry, C. Here. Okay. Git add w. Okay. Then we have to find more. Here. Okay. And then we have to find here probably. No. Okay, no. No here. So git commit. Okay. Let's see if we forgot some other stuff lying around from the rebase. Git surgery is such a pain in the ass, but so I mean, it's kind of my problem. I don't work in I don't work in a linear fashion. So I do something, then I realize I forgot to do something else, and I do it, and then I context switch constantly, which is not great. But this is what rebase is for, right? So you rebase stuff, and right, that's why. Okay. So you rebase, you fix up, and you do a bunch of other stupid shit here and there. Okay. But then you get into the woods of massive work like this, where stuff that is complicated gets out of hand, and you end up with a bunch of surgery commits that you have to fix up and rebase and do stuff like that. Oh. Get items. Okay. That's an interesting thing. Okay, get items. Oh yeah. And then you realize that you have to rebase everything and then fix up a bunch of commits, and then stuff happens. Okay. And this is another stupid thing that happened. Okay. Demo, tagged entry, UI. Normal tags here. Limiter trailers empty. Okay. Yeah, probably something that happened in the middle. So let's go back inside tagged entry UI. And we need a notify handler. On text notify. Here. Yep. Second connect. text, notify text, callback, and text notify. There we go. But I need to I need to delete that for the tab completion. So yeah, it's missing here. Self match model not equals null, and same here. If you set match model, then you don't get auto completion, because then you can enter whatever tag you want. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay, we need to add it back. To the tagged entry. Commit. And we close the intermediate files so we don't confuse builder. Okay. Okay, so let's push this to my merge request. And leave a comment there. Okay. Right. Okay. Iteration number 3. Okay, it's possible to automatically add tags to the entry by you can add a tag by typing the label and pressing user provided limiter. Without space and on. You can provide a list model an expression to the automatic tag completion. Okay. B2 feature umbrella. Close the image nest token field and viewer UI add entry. Why am I not getting any notification? This is weird. Okay. Still worry about the entry icons. We don't even have APIs with multiple icons in GTK entry, let alone here. Yeah, I mean, all of this is kind of... But to be perfectly rounded, I think it's overall sensory. Okay, let me take a screenshot again to see if I can get and get it inside the Let's see if I can take a screenshot of that. What are you doing? Okay, pictures. There we go. The fact that the when you open a file selector dialog inside a sandbox, so you are using the portal to get out of process, the fact that the focus doesn't get transferred to the file selection dialog is infuriating, to say the least. I think we are fine right now. I mean, yeah, the missing bits are still styling the tags, and then basically validating a little bit more the API. There are other, so I'm actually playing a little bit fast and loose with the tagged entry widget here, in the sense that the entry here will only do will only insert tags if you're literally typing them. I haven't added the ability to set text on the tagged entry and then like by a copy and paste. I will need to add that. There is a little bit of, yeah, iffy bits here and there. But the basics are there. The basic behavior that I want to expose is there. The ability to set a match model, and then the ability to set a expression to fill out the matches from any generic match model, a function that deals with the transformation of a match to an actual tag, and everything else is there. The automatic tagging insertion and removal. The fact that you can take a list, you can take the tags that are currently inside the tagged entry and then store them somewhere using a list model as well is another interesting bit of functionality, because it means you can at the end of the process you can just get the list model of tags and add them to G settings, for instance. But yeah, that's pretty much how I think this should work. Yeah, it's a complex. It's a complex widget that encodes a bunch of functionality that in theory is very simple to describe, but I mean, it does stuff in a interesting way. We could have a bunch of stuff that is opt-in, like changing the default of the tagged entry delimiter characters from, right now it's space and comma, and by default we automatically deal with that, and instead making it empty, so that you have to explicitly opt in order to get the behavior of automatically adding tags whenever you press a tag separator. That it's probably the other thing that will need to be changed. But I think from a initial perspective, this is a good approximation of what I think the widget should do. Of course, the implementation is really up for debate in some places. Like instead of having return for a single one, when you have a single match, maybe use a tab instead of pressing return for that. Or maybe use tab to cycle through all the possible matches, like tab completion does. So basically tab would work as key down. So it would cycle through all the options. But again, this is not really tab completion. This is not a completion entry. This is a tagged entry, which means that you need to select an explicit target, and then it will be added to the tag. It's not something that will be completed into the entry. Actually, we want to remove stuff from the entry. So this is kind of the important distinction. And I don't think the tagged entry should behave like a completion entry there. Then again, we don't have a completion entry in libadwaita. We might want to have one, and it would be implemented pretty much the same way this is implemented, minus the tags, of course. And yeah, for an actual completion entry, you probably also want to have the ability to define the rows of the list item inside the popover. The rows of the list view to be able to create them yourself. Basically being able to, right now this widget here defines the list factory by itself and doesn't let you change it. It's entirely possible to provide an implementation of this widget that has a way to override the list entry, the list item factory. Right now we use a simple signal list item factory that sets up the widget and binds the content of the widget here. But at that point it becomes kind of complicated. Definitely not for this. For this, no. But for a generic completion entry, you would want to have the match object to be public, for instance, so that you can specify a bunch of other things there. And you want to do like the suggestion entry in the GTK demo with the ability to define where the match starts and when the match ends, and an overall score value, so you can sort according to score. Like for instance, you want the stuff that starts to have a higher score than stuff that contains, for instance, and so on and so forth. There are a bunch of other things that can be done, but that kind of behavior goes for a generic completion entry, or something that is not turning specific words into specific widgets, like a tagged entry. But that will work anyway. Oh, it's been, wow, 3 hours. Interesting. So let's go back to my big head here. I need to fix OBS to not refresh the, yeah, tries to refresh everything. Anyway, so the tagged entry, I think at this point is, well, the third iteration of the tagged entry widget is done. Now I really have to wait until somebody reviews it. We are 5 days away from the pencil down for GNOME 42, and then there's going to be the release, and then it's going to be a week where basically we just get drunk. If you drink, otherwise you just party. And then we can go back for GNOME 43, and then this code will be reviewed appropriately. So today we finished the auto-completion code for the tagged entry. We rebased everything, we merged into a proper merge request, and then we pushed it for review. There will be no stream on Wednesday, so we'll skip Wednesday once again, and we'll come back on Friday for a chill stream instead of a stream with a proper goal. That is in this case, getting tagged entry stuff done. I have a couple of other projects that are currently flying under the radar, and I will try and get them ready for Friday, so I can talk about them and demo and hack a little bit on them, especially because one of them is in Rust, and I'm not very comfortable with Rust yet, which means that any streams on that will be me writing terrible Rust code and then going around on the Rust and GTK Rust bindings book trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, which will be a lot. So if you want to see me struggle a lot against learning a new, well, not learning a new language, but writing a completely different language on stream, then feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel or to join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ebassi, to see me doing stuff live and get a notification whenever I stream. Yeah, for everyone who's still here, thank you very much for following along. It's really cool for me to be able to stream this stuff and basically work in public in the biggest case of pair programming that has ever been attempted. Other than that, have a fantastic rest of your Monday, and have a great rest of the week, and I shall see you all again working on GNOME and libadwaita on Friday. Bye!